Top of the morning, everybody. Erica's Secondary Machine. This morning I'm out in the shop having my morning dose of carbon monoxide along with some high test coffee. This is straight out of the French press, Elvis approved. So today I am going to be working on the Z-axis of my DRO install. Yesterday I did the Y-axis, and I thought I would just give you guys a real quick update of how that went. I had to make this bracket out of a solid chunk of aluminum yesterday. Luckily I bought a cutoff, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, a nice big chunk of aluminum that was big enough to be able to build this bracket. And so you can see here, you got this little spot here is just enough clearance to get me over the top of this bolt. I was really kind of concerned having this arm come down that, you know, there might be some issues with trying to get this all dialed in and working properly, but the truth of the matter is it came out way better than what I thought it was going to. An initial test here actually show this to be very, very repeatable, like down to like the 10th, like I nailed it. And that's without any linear compensation. It looks like the X-axis, it looks like it might be just a hair off, like maybe I need to dial it in, maybe put a shim here or something. Not sure yet. The main thing is get the scales put onto the machine, and then I'll go through and I'll get everything exactly where it needs to be. I may not even need to change anything on X, but maybe just the linear compensation inside the computer itself will probably take up for it. But it looks like maybe it's just a hair off. The Y is just spot on, like so far anyway. Looks like I just nailed it. And so I really enjoyed making this part yesterday. And actually you can see by all the aluminum around here that I actually did it on this machine. I can't get this to sit exactly where it needs to be. See, I'm minus a jaw here. I actually had to take the jaw off to be able to make this part because the vise just doesn't sit on the machine exactly where I need it to be. I'm really limited. So this is a 5-inch, and so I'm limited by where they decided to put this on the casting to putting it out here. I mean, probably what I'm going to do is actually make my own custom clamps to be able to, instead of using these bolts, a custom clamp of some sort where I can clamp that down and put it exactly where I want it to be, because where it's at now just doesn't, it's just bordering. I think it's actually just the right size for this machine, maybe a hair big, but you know, I don't think I would really want to bump down to, like, this is a 4-inch and I feel like it would be a little small for it. So I think I would really rather stick with a 5 and I'm just going to have to kind of dial it in. So, and get it exactly how I want it to be. But anyhow, this project is definitely coming along. You know, with every machine, there's always an issue. And one I ran into with this one was actually, I really like tapered gibs. I haven't had a lot of machines that have them. But this tapered gib here, I had to shorten it actually. You can see how these screws, they're designed to fit inside of the pocket, and then they control how far in and out that gib is sitting. And I had to lop about 3/8 of an inch off of it because it was sitting so far out that the screws would just barely start to engage this pocket. And so with some hesitancy, I decided to go out to the other shop and use a grinding wheel and lop about 3/8 of an inch off of it. You know, once you take that metal off, it's really difficult to put it back. And so I was kind of concerned about, you know, which end do I lop off of that wedged shaped piece? It turns out after some thought that what you want to do is cut the thin end of it, and then that way when it slides in there, I was able to gain a little bit of pocket space on both ends, and now the screws are sitting inside the recessed part of it much deeper than what they were before. And that's another thing, is that the thread for this one felt a little janky, like it wasn't exactly engaging right at the beginning of it. And so I'm getting a lot more purchase by it being able to sink a little bit further in, and it's definitely getting a lot better engagement with those threads. I think the beginning of them are maybe kind of dinked up a little bit. So anyway, it's always something with a machine tool. Like, there's always going to be something you're going to be messing with, even if it's brand new. I think that, you know, especially if it's going to be something that comes from China, you're probably going to have to either fix something or make it the way you want it to be. And so anyway, today I'm going to be working on Z. And so I think I'm going to use this round bar for my spacers. You can see here that the taper of the column's pretty exaggerated on this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself some round spacers, and I'm going to figure out exactly where that scale needs to sit based on the weigh itself. So I'm going to measure from here and get that sitting on there perfectly square. And then my game plan is actually, instead of going long way around from here to the reader, I'm going to have a gap. I'm going to go in between to the reader so it's not sticking out any further than it has to be. And then once I have this basically exactly where I need it to be, perfectly plumb with the entire rest of the machine, then I'll build this part here. And I'll probably use that same aluminum that I used yesterday to bring myself out with a nice thick piece and over to the reader, like I said, behind here, so that it's not sticking out any further than it has to. So that's my game plan for today, is to get that done. What else is going on? I did have one issue yesterday while building this. I was able to use, this was already pre-drilled and tapped on here. And so I was able to, it was the right size. I already had a hole, so I used it. And then the intention was to come straight across, but the drill bit walked on me a bit. But so long as this didn't tilt at all, as long as it stayed square where it needed to be and didn't move, I was fine, and it didn't. So this is actually a hair higher than it should have been, but whatever. You know, it is what it is. The thing is, you know, ultimately, I don't really care so much what it looks like, but I do care about how it's going to perform. That's another thing I was talking about in the last video was these two guys up here were sticking proud, and I was talking about trying to open up the hole so that they could sit down below. And instead of modifying the reader, what I ended up deciding to do was take those two little Allen heads and put them into a collet on the lathe. And I just took 20 thou off of them, and now they sit so that they recess down in there. And so I just feel like that was a much better way to approach that. And I actually got to use the collet set for the lathe. I've never really had a collet set with any of my lathes, and so it was really fun to be able to do something really precise with a collet and try that stuff out. So anyway, I think that's about it for this update. I'm going to let everybody go, and then I'm going to jump in here and see what I can do with Z, and I will probably make a follow-up video showing how that went. Eric with Secondary Machine. I will talk to you soon.